Hello, Mech fans. This is Duncan Fisher. Hold on firmly to your mana potions, fireballs, and familiars, because you are tuning in to your regularly scheduled episode of the First Circuit Podcast.
So I think we're right now we're just like looking at how do we change the packs so it's viable to still make new mechs, that the mechs add something to the game, and that the price point makes it realistic. But I think we have to get the player base up first. And so the initial goal for the year is to have more players, right? Like bring the players back that have left the game, and then to get as many new players as possible. And that includes localizing to regions like Germany, to localizing to regions like France, localizing to Russia, possibly more. But we do want to have the game fully localized and support those languages so that people can come and play who don't have English as a first or second language.
Gotta get all the European mech that's in.
Yeah.
One thing I've mentioned a few times in the podcast is accessibility, disabled accessibility, like various forms of color blindness. I don't think there's options to change color of UI. Like red-blue color blindness is, you can't tell the difference between the two, I think. And obviously both there's the blue team and the red team. Pretty tricky. Yeah.
So that is not something I have on the roadmap. It's been something I've heard about for a very, very long time. I do know that some people have modded it, the UI.
Yeah, because it should be a fairly simple fix, but you could go a long way to broadening your horizons just for those extra few people.
Yeah. Should be a fairly simple fix, is like a siren call for me to be like, oh fuck, that's going to take a really long time.
The hardest part is UI. You need an option in the menus.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that, like,
I just
whenever anybody says it should be a really simple fix, it never is.
Well,
as a producer, like I say the same thing. I'm like, I pitch ideas to the team all the time. I'm like, this should be simple. Like, I want to create an event queue this year. Like, I want to create an event queue this year. I want to get population up, and I want to have solo queue. I want to have group queue back, and I want to have event queue. And I want to put Solaris and faction play into event queue. And I want it to be something special that is like, you come to the game and you're playing something different this weekend or next weekend or whenever. Like if it's April Fool's, it's like all Urbies with ballistics.
Small lasers.
Or something like. But
every mech has to have the Fool's Warhorn just automatically equipped.
Yeah, like I want to be able to fuck with the rules of the game to my heart's desire, and also to do just some stuff to like add some really cool stuff to the like a weekend, right? Like it's all like just night maps. Like the event queue is night maps, so if you want to play night maps, you're going in there. So let's say I can do the time of day settings on all the maps so that every one of the maps is nighttime, and you just queue up in the event queue and it's going to be a nighttime map. For some people, that would be a really appealing thing to change up the game with the existing content and have some themed event around it, have some themed cockpit item or whatever, or some reward, or you win the color black. I'm sure everyone has the color black now, but like just the more ways we can use the existing content with the existing systems to create new experiences within the game that are really fun and one-off and change over time. That to me is a great way to keep the game lively and engaging. Like Daeron and I are literally pulling out all the stops that we can, and we will continue to for this year to build it up. And next year will be like whatever we've done to this year, what can we do now next year? And it's really, really exciting because it's like Russ handing you the keys to his car and saying, don't fucking crash it. So it's like thrilling and scary at the same time, because we get to drive a lot of the direction of development of MWO now, and that's not something I've been able to do even as a producer. My job is to facilitate other people's vision and to negotiate tasks with engineers and technical people. Can we do this? Can we achieve this? And having been on the project for a long time, you have your own ideas. Players have their ideas of like, let's do this, let's have that, or like, let's have this mode, or can we do this? Like, and I think that, I've got some different ideas, and Daeron has some different ideas, and the team has different ideas that we haven't done in the past. And we know the state of the game currently. We know the population has dropped off in the last 2 years. We know we've got a die-hard community still playing the game. We know we've got people that have left the game that are kind of sideways looking at us going, should I come back or not? And I really want to give them a reason to come back, because I think that with the license being extended 5 more years, there's still a ton of life in this game.
Oh yeah,
still a ton of life, and still a ton of things we can do with your guys' support to make the game fun and engaging for the next 4 to 5 years. So
yeah, and since you were talking about it, all of us here are a definitely huge fan of the event queue idea.
Cool.
So please give us some fun.
Yeah, let's bring this back around to events as the main topic, because at least
Sure.
to talk personally, when I started the game, it was oh, an event has popped up. I get some premium time, and I just play to get all the challenges done, and I would play to make the best use of premium time. And so for me, I always sort of turned up for the events, and part of that has been reflected in our podcast. That whenever we happen to record, we cover the events that are past, that are happening or have happened, because for us, we want to share that with our audience. We want to discuss the reasons to turn up for the game. And I was curious. I think one of the questions we have listed down is sort of what is your design philosophy behind the event? Sort of how has events sort of changed over the years for you with MWO? What have you found works? What do you find that doesn't work, etc., etc.?
And I have a question after
I don't
that
know.
one.
Yeah, so how much time do we have? No.
As much as you want.
Plenty.
As long
so
as you're
the
free.
event system, it started out being purely driven on the web, right? And I've been involved with it since the very beginning, very inception, designing things for events. As the live operations manager, my job was to create fun events for you guys to participate in. Everything from the first Like a Champ or Like a Champion event, where you had to play a match, get a kill, survive, and win a match like 10 times in order to get a free mech. And I think I drove some people batshit insane over that weekend. I do apologize for that event. But the funny thing is, as hard as that was, the engagement on that weekend was huge, right? So whether it was a week or a weekend event, we saw player participation, player numbers go through the roof. So we knew we had something. It was a bit heavy-handed, right? And with Tukid, faction play has always struggled with the amount of queues it had and the population it had and the modes. And we put tons and tons of hundreds of thousands of man hours into making faction play the grand thing that it was at one point, but it didn't have the population to come in and take it to the place that it needed to go, right? So we've slowly over time brought it back. But like Tukid was this thing where we were like, okay, everybody fight over this one planet. We don't care about your allegiance. We don't care about this. It's just like everybody, clans in Innersphere, duke it out, and then we'd put out stats after the fact, like what mechs were used, what mechs got the most kills, like what units did the best, and all these things. And that to me was probably the best example of faction play working in my mind, just simply because the engagement was high, people were having fun, there was lots of drops really fast, and it was just good, like a good time, and there was a result out of it, right? And that's what I think our initial goal was, but the population was never there. So fast forward a bit, and I get an event tool, and I can access statistics. So I can set, this is the criteria, this is the number, this is the stat it's using, this is the rewards you can get, and then I can create up to 12 of them, and each one can have sub goals within it and all these types of things. But it's a system that is hooked up to the statistics system. It doesn't have logic. I can't say do this and do this, or sorry, I can't say get a kill and survive the match. I can only say get X amount of kills. I can only say get X
Okay.
amount of wins, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So there is still some shortcomings in the event system. And I hope to address that with the event queue moving forward, where I can set whatever modes or whatever, mechs required or all these different things. So I think I'm rambling now, but
No, this is fine.
I may have gone far
to
off
give
your intended.
Well,
point
I
of
gave a very
question.
broad question, which was just, what are the ups and downs, and you talked about that. And I think it's a very good one you brought up with the initial event you did, where, in my head, like I thought of when you said, people have to get a kill and survive the match. It's kind of like, you're asking people to jump through hoops.
Yep.
And even with things like KMDDs or get a minimum of like 500 match score or something like that, you're asking someone to jump through a hoop, and not everyone is quite as dexterous, and somebody is a bit chubby and they can't really fit through the hoop sometimes, and so it's a little
fair.
awkward.
I've always tried to listen to the feedback on the forums. I know someone's about to hit me up for the 10 UAV kills, but I do listen to feedback. I do look at statistics. I know how often things happen in the game. I know, like, on a median amount, right? Like, you've got your the curve of distribution, right? You've got your players at this end and players at this end, and then the bulk of players are in the middle in terms of statistics. So I do have an understanding. I know that certain specific things like headshots or tag or UAV kills, especially when it becomes dependent on another player doing an action so you can do an action, become very, very frustrating. And that's the worst kind of hoop to jump through. It's like somebody's supposed to hold the hoop for you, but no one's holding the hoop, so how the fuck are you even supposed to jump through it? So yeah, I hear you guys. Like, I get the frustration there. Why 10? You know what? Maybe after this, I'll go reduce the cap to like 5. So I can do that. I can go and adjust that. So old Bob gets his free mech.
No. The frustration is you have to wait for 12 people to drop a UAV. Then you have to battle out with your own team to go ahead and hit that UAV, and that's the frustration.
Yeah.
And so many times I hit it, drop the UAV, hit points down to 1, and someone else hits it with a laser. I'm like,
Bob, you also have to be in a mech that can actually aim up enough to hit the UAV.
that too, yeah. But it's so frustrating for that 10 UAVs, and 10 times for a bunch of different variables for that to happen was almost impossible sometimes. That's my only pet peeve.
It's like, victories can be another frustrating one, right?
Oh yeah.
Where you're like, you're dead and you're just staying there going like, please let us win this match. Like, and then you're like spectating on the last guy and he doesn't know what he's doing. Oh my God, we're not going to get the win. I have to play another match.
Like, with your average,
I want to go to bed. Fuck this shit. Fuck Matt Newman. I want to go to bed. Right?
I have had that, just in the sense that, if you imagine your average pilot, they have a 50% chance to win, and they have some impact to the game, but it's often the luck of what your team is and what the enemy team is.
I do consider that stuff, and I do hear you, and I try and put the least amount of that stuff in there as I can, but they are also called challenges.
Yeah.
Right? So I do look at stats. I do look at those things. I will lower in this event. I will go and lower the UAV count one.
Thank you.
So you guys get to tell me what it gets lowered to. What is it? Should I have it?
3 to 5 is fine.
3 to 5?
3 to 5 is cool. At least I think. Or not at all. Either one of those 3, things are fine. 3 to 5 or just not at all. It's good.
Yeah. Or just not at all.
I'd say it heavily depends on what you get for. Like, in this particular case, I believe the pattern is locked behind the UAV kills, which is kind of the highest value reward, except for the mech, of course.
That's why you have 5.
So
right?
in this case, I would probably be fine with having 3 or worst case 5. But in many other events,
I didn't lock the mech behind it. So I was thinking.
No, it's not a mech.
I'm like, this is the hardest challenge, and then it's just like this bonus item. Oh, come on, guys. What are you complaining about? No, just kidding. I get it. It is. So it's like the tag one, right? It's dependent on someone else shooting. In order for you to get the tag hit, I've got to tag it, and then someone else has to shoot it with missiles. Yeah. So dependencies can be very, very frustrating, and I get that.
My thought process.
I hear you. I go on the forums every day when I put an event and sale up, and I read every post. I don't always respond, but I do read them all, and I do listen to people's feedback. I'll jump onto Twitch streams and listen to people. Like when something gets announced, I want to get that instant feedback. I'll jump onto Twitch and see who's playing and see if they've noticed it. I've even been sometimes gone like, hey, did you guys look at MWO.com? Like, you should see the event, or you should try to like spur them to go talk about it, right? Because I'm like, I have a limited amount of time to gather my feedback to know how badly I've screwed the pooch on the latest event that I can change in the immediate vicinity of that. But yeah, this one I will definitely go in there. I'll reduce it down to 4 for you guys, because it is. Yeah. 4 is good.
Or none.
It is for a spin.
Yeah, either one of those two.
There's going to be somebody that watches this podcast and go, I got all 10. It was easy.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were talking about. Right? Yeah. So there's always 2 ends of the spectrum. And I always try and take that into consideration. And there's some really great people on the forums who do share like, hey, I am not able to game for that long. I'm not able to do this. And I'm like, I feel them. Like, I can't game for that long either. Right. So I do try and set realistic expectations. If I'm going to have something like that steep, I do try and have the event longer. And like even this past December, I think that the dailies started on the 4th, but they went right to the end of the month. Like if you saw the population growth over December, I don't know if you watch, because you guys can see it in Steam, right? And it's a fraction of the player base in Steam. That it's only showing people playing through Steam. It doesn't show everybody that's logged in, but you can see the growth. And in December, we hit high peak for the year right around the time just after releasing Snowball and Fireball for free, and we gave a longer time than we gave for any other double mech pack. I think we gave like 48 hours in the previous one. We gave like 4 days for this one. And so there were some people that logged into MWO and played hardcore for like the last 4 days of the year and got a shit ton of stuff because there was loot bags, dailies, free mechs, just like everything. And that I'm totally cool with. Like, because people coming back and playing the game is great. Not much has changed. Like, we changed one thing in a patch early December, but we're going to be changing more and more and more things over this year. The next patch is coming up. We talked about it in the last podcast. So we've got like 4 or 5 changes coming there. Hope to release those details, leading up to the patch. But I want people to come back. I want people to come play and go like, hey, this is different. Things are changing. MWO is taking a different direction.
That's good.
The decisions we're making are not traditional. They're not the status quo. And I completely understand if people are. Oh, sorry.
I've heard this a few times on the devlog, and I wanted to keep on with the events, to keep a good pace. And I wanted to talk. Sorry, what do you want, Ian? Sorry, go ahead.
So we were on the topic of feedback, so just 2 more pieces of instant feedback that we talk about on the podcast. Longer events are super helpful. You mentioned it yourself. We are a huge fan of longer events rather than just the 2 or 3 day weekend events. And you're the one who constantly mentions this premium time needs to be as easy to achieve as possible.
Yeah, that was actually what I was going to get into, which is the ease of the challenges, because premium time, I feel, should always sort of be very easy. Like, even if you're a complete noob, you just, as long as you participate in a match, you get it, and that incentivizes you to play more. But the other question was, particularly with the Huntsman event, I was going to bring up the actually earning the Huntsman, because one part of the challenge was to get 100 components destroyed, and part of the mindset of these free mechs, I think, was to support the new player experience, or those who don't play as much. But if you're not a very proficient pilot, you're not getting that many components destroyed, which can mean you're playing a lot of games to get that. Even me, as a good pilot, took me a lot of matches to get those 100 components destroyed. That was the last thing I did.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, like I said, it has statistics, but they're not perfect. They're flattened. You get an average stat of how many components are destroyed every match. It's not like, so usually when I say flattened, it's statistics are gathered for the match, and this shit happened in the game, right? So, and then you can average that over multiple matches and the number of players, and you divide it and that kind of thing. So you get a sense of the median or average player being able to achieve X, Y, or Z in a match. Now, that's not evenly distributed, because the best guy in the match gets the most damage, the most components destroyed. I mean, I say the best guy in the match gets the most damage. That's not true. Like, you can kill someone with a headshot and be the best guy in the match. So it's not always true. So statistics can lie to you if you're not thinking about them logically. And I try and do my best, but there's still always some fuzzy logic in there that you have to plug in to try and achieve some level of challenge for all players, but easy enough for new players. And it's not perfect. But I hear you. 100 components destroyed can be very difficult. And you could literally decide, well, I'm just going after components in this match and try and get it. And you could maybe get 4 or 5 in a match if you were decent enough. You get like some laser boat, and you're like, I'm going after arms, I'm going after side torsos, I'm going after legs or whatever. But then you're now diverted your playstyle away from winning the game into achieving some arbitrary goal that Matt Newman has set for you, right? So I get that those things, I try and set them so they're things that happen naturally over the course of playing X amount of matches. But I get that those things can also divert things. And that's another reason why I want the event queue, is because whenever I've done something really stupid in general queue, people are always like, you fucked up my fun for the weekend because you made people YOLO in to try and do this. And I get it. I don't want people to YOLO. I want people to play the game. I want people to be able to achieve those things in a realistic amount of time. But I also want them to be challenges that keep them coming back to achieve the thing that they want to get. Yeah. So there is a very fine line that I have to walk. And sometimes I step over one side, or sometimes I step over the other side. Have you guys reviewed the latest event that I put up, the kill counter?
Not yet, but I just want to finish off my train of thought. Like, with the analogy of jumping through hoops, it's kind of how difficult it is, the dexterity someone needs to do it. And so obviously what I'm saying is some hoops are so large you can just sort of keep walking and you'll go through enough hoops. And so like, the first hoop you go through is a big wide one that gives you premium time. And if you have something like the Huntsman, that is something you want lower level players to be for them to pick up, it should be a big wide hoop that everybody should walk through it eventually, rather than necessarily requiring it to be several small hoops in there that require dexterity, because that's where the lower skill players probably are going to get hung up and be stuck playing a lot of unfruitful games.
That's fair. I mean, that's totally valid assessment. I get where you're coming from, but I also think, where I'm coming from is valid too. So when it comes to something like 100 components destroyed, I'm not saying that like maybe the hoop isn't big enough for the mech, but at the same time, I also want it to set it to be aspirational. That gives people a reason to come back and play the game and get the free mech, because it's not a small reward. It's not something like, I understand there is conditional stuff like the UAVs where that can be super frustrating, and you're like, well, no one popped a UAV, how the fuck am I supposed to get this? But with the mech, I try and make it things that naturally do happen in the game. Like, if you're not destroying components, what are you doing in the game? Like, I mean, I'm not saying don't play the game, please play the game. But like, if you're not destroying components, you have to try harder. I mean, right? Like, because it's like step one of killing a mech is destroying its arm or its side torso to take its weapons out, so it no longer poses a threat against you. If it's got a an XL engine on the inner sphere side, you're going to get the kill too, right? So, and lagging a mech is a valid tactic. I mean, it's not.
Oh, we did that
always
before.
It's not your best option, because you take out weapons first, in my opinion, right?
Yeah. Ultimately, it all depends on sort of how many people eventually pass through the challenge and do it. And I don't have the stats to say those at the very bottom of the curve who don't have much dexterity, how many of them actually play more for this challenge, how many of them succeed.
Excuse me.
So that's a difficult question to answer.
I don't have those stats in front of me for this particular event. I've looked at them for past events and tried to line it up with what I was expecting, but you're faced with the reality of reading into stats that aren't necessarily there's a certain level of things I assume. Like, I don't know why old Bob didn't get the mech that month. Like, I honestly don't. Like, maybe he had a personal thing that he had to attend to, and either he had a wedding or whatever. Like, or it's next to impossible to imply why someone did or didn't, or why was or wasn't able to achieve something when statistics are telling me 99, or not 99, but like 80% of the people should be able to achieve this within X amount of matches, and then the rest of them should be able to achieve it within this amount of matches.
Yeah.
So you're left kind of like, how far do I lower the bar for certain things?
Correlation does not mean
to create an engagement, right?
Yeah, correlation doesn't mean causation, and I don't have any stats to actually prove my point that this distribution of the community are not getting as engaged by the events as others. But that is just my concern and worry about.
Matt,
like that.
do you potentially have the option to look at what percentage of players from each tier complete the event?
That's a good
I think
question.
I do. Yeah, because I can get like who got that reward, what tier were they.
Okay.
So I can ask the database administrator. Like, I don't have like a quick filter that I can set up on like my telemetry data, but I can ask the database administrator. I'll be like, I want to know people who played this month, how many matches they played, did they get the reward, or did they get the mech, what tier were they in, and divide it by tiers or something like that. So I can ask for that, and then he sends it to me in this big ugly format that I have to then pull into Excel, because he sends it to me like in DOS language or something. It's like it's not pretty at all, and then I have to pull it into Excel and try and make heads or tails out of the data, and we do that all the time. So yeah, I mean, I could do that for this event. I mean, it's probably a good idea, but I am looking to change the way we give away the mechs in the future too.
You were talking about the
still
recent
though,
event,
if you do have the resources, I do think that would be an interesting post on the forums for people to just look at and understand the behind the scenes of the events.
Yeah, we do want to share more data with you guys moving forward. Like share, I mean, we can't share everything, but we do want to show you guys that we are having an effect. And we know we are having an effect. We just even players like look at the Steam numbers and go like, oh, there's been plus this many people or plus that many people. And
quick,
I think that's
the second question there then. Do the Steam player numbers roughly correspond to the total numbers?
Are there a percentage of it? I don't know what percentage it is. I mean, it's
player growth. If you look at the player growth on Steam, is that roughly the player growth that's the total growth for MechWarrior Online as well, percentage-wise?
Is it the same pattern? If Steam's going up, is in general it going up?
Yes, if Steam's going up, it's going up, and it has been going up, both in player engagement, and we still get new players. Like we still get people signing up. We get X amount of new accounts a day, and you can have your data of like they signed up, but they never logged into the website, or they like, so you send them an email, says, okay, verify your email address. Yeah. So some people sign up, they never verify their email address. So I don't know who they are. Maybe it's a bot. I don't know. Then they sign up, they verify their email address, but they never, and then they log into the website, but they never log into the client. Like, so it's called the funnel, right? Of like, you're attempting to get them into and engage in the new player content, which is, we just updated the cadet bonus, right? And so you know that after they play 25 matches, they're going to have this, and you've got someone who's reasonably invested in the game and will want to continue and go like, I had fun. I played that. Like, now that we're putting them in tier 5, they're not getting slaughtered immediately. I mean, I'm sure they are. There's still a difficult learning curve in MWO, like probably one of the steepest learning curves for a shooter game, like being marketed as a shooter type game. But some people are into it. They come in, they're like, I want to shoot giant robots and I want to be a badass mech warrior. So they come into it and they start learning, and it's difficult at first, but we want to say, okay, we made tutorials, we made this, we made that. We're going to put out new player videos. I want to send them a welcome email that gives them content on top of. So the people that would have gotten their, I signed up and then not verified my account, I want that email to come out with like, hey, here's X amount of stuff. Come verify your email address with us, and you get this stuff for free.
Okay.
I want to be able to do refer a friend program. So that's all part of our growth plan. Like things that we've talked about in the past when we had a decent population. And then as we've shifted our focus entirely onto MechWarrior 5, in order to ship that, and then now to ship that on a new platform and multiple storefronts, we just haven't been able to execute on them. We've done what I've been able to do, which is to have events and sales to engage the player population that we have. And that over time, the player population has gone down and down and down and down. Yeah. And now that MW5 is shipped, it's shipped and now it's shipping again on another SKU. I've got resources coming off of there that I can now access. And those resources start with people who get locked out of the build first, right? Yeah. And so artists, level designers, things like that, I've now got access to that I can pluck them, go like, hey, remember these spawn points in Tourmaline? Let's move them. Because spawn point alpha gets way too much fire out of the gate, right? Yeah. So that's what we're doing for the next patch. So that's... Go ahead.
All right, I have one last thing to talk about.
Okay,
with
then
events,
after that, I get a question
we can
too.
move on from. We can. Yeah, I'll be done with my points on events. But so to go to my hoop analogy, you're asking someone to do a cartwheel through a hoop, and the problem is that suddenly everyone is doing cartwheels. And that radically changes the game. So, obvious examples, sort of like if there's KMDDs or missile damage, suddenly a lot of low skill players will take a lot of LRMs or something like that. And it's just, the last event with Hunt the Huntsman, there was 2,500 AMS missiles to shoot down.
That was easy.
Well, not AMS missiles, but missiles shot down with the AMS. But and that resulted in some very funny days where one day there was a lot of LRM boats, and then the next day there was so much AMS that everyone was using AC2s and PPCs, and it throws the game a little into whack sometimes with everybody doing the exact same challenges.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, these things are things that happen in the game anyways too. Like people take AMS, people take missiles, people take it's not like I invented missiles and AMS for this event and threw them in the game and they didn't exist before, right? No. So I can understand, you're like, oh, okay, well, everyone's doing this thing. It's like that's one of the things when I do weight class challenges, I've done in the past, specific mechs, it can throw off the matchmaker. And I'll ask those guys to loosen the matchmaking rule set so that because everybody's going to be queuing in this particular weight, let's make it so that we can kick off matches faster and they can get into the matches. So I hear you. And that's another reason I want the event queue. It's just another reason for me to get that work done and get that event queue out there so that I can really mess with you guys. And you won't, and then if you whine, I can say, go play in quick play or whatever. No, I'm kidding. But you know what I mean?
Everyone doing cartwheels is kept.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say everyone doing cartwheels is kept to the circus rather than suddenly the game being transforming overnight.
And you were talking about the recent event, right? You brought that up about the KMDDs. About the recent
event. I was just wondering whether the kill counter was to your liking or not.
I completed everything but 3 of them for about 4 hours of playing last night, and it was pretty easy to do. Obviously I was being hunted as well, so I couldn't get them all done, but still, it was fine. It was cool. It was a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, right on. I'm so stoked on these streamer events. I want to do more and more of them. Daeron's doing a great job. He used to champion this kind of idea, and I didn't really see the value in it. Mostly because I thought I was going to have to do most of the work. But now that he's actually full-time inside Piranha Games, you want to corral all these nut jobs and go exactly. Knock yourself out, man. And I say that in the most loving way possible, but I just mean that it can be a lot of work to work with that many people who have that many different schedules and are in that many different time zones and have that many different requests. When my job was making events, making sales, now even more with the development stuff on top of it, which is things I'm used to from being a producer before. But in the past, planning mech cons and trying to coordinate all those things. Sometimes when you don't see an event that weekend, it's just because I've just been way too busy or whatever, and or the sale was buggy is because I've made it in half. I left out some. I know I've got to go back in and clean up the sale from this weekend. I think there's a Marauder missing and a couple other things. I've been reading the forum posts, and I read it last night after getting off work, having dinner with my family, watching WandaVision with my kids, then tucking them into bed and hanging out with the wife for an hour, and then it's like she's off to bed because she's got to work tomorrow. I come downstairs and I read the forums, and I'm like watching people on Twitch and seeing like, oh, the event's going great, you know, and but the sale, I know. And so my task today, even though it's Saturday, I'm still working. Gonna go in, fix the event for the UAV kill, and then clean up the sale.
Okay.
So
yeah, it was fun. Basically did a great job, and I was surprised it was pulled off in less than I think 1 day. Basically, you know, as far as Daeron sending like invites out, and then everyone getting together, and then poor Daeron had to go and put into like whatever he does, you know, put it in there of all different websites and everything else, and wow, that must have been insane.
Yeah. So we've done it once before, right?
Yeah.
So every time, the first time you do something is the hardest. Like even with this pack, the striker pack we put out, it was difficult because it was changing a system that we had in place. So I work with the web team and the designers there, and communicating to them what it is this pack consists of and how we're going to try and display it to show the value. And you iterate a lot on those things at the same time as you're trying to just help decide what mechs are going to go in there. And so a lot of times, like the intention was to launch that pack on patch day. It took till Friday end of day for that pack to get out. So patch day was the 16th. I think we launched the pre-order bundle on the 19th. And that's just the reality of it, right? Because it wasn't ready to go out the door. We looked at the website and said, this isn't quite right. You know, Daeron did the FAQ. I was literally modeling the cockpit items in Blender the day after the pack was supposed to go live, because it wasn't good enough to not show them. Like, oh, there's going to be cockpit items. It's like, well, what do they look like? I want to show them. This pack is consisting of this content. Let's show the players what it is they're going to get.
Yeah.
GSP and MC are easy, or GSP and C builds are easy to show, but who cares about the striker cockpit items? Well, I want you to care. So I'm going to model them and I'm going to show you this is what they're going to look like in the game.
I was curious though, for the bolt-ons, is that reactive armor? Like, what is that? Basically, like all it shows is boxes, you know, for the concept art.
For the concept art, that was, so one of the things that we discussed in the group with Chris, Mark, Nico, Alex, and David is, and Daeron and myself, is how we feel about bolt-ons. Because personally, I like bolt-ons. I think that they're a very cool idea. I love it when you can add something cool and custom to your mech to make it look unique. I think we missed the mark on bolt-ons when we launched them. The best bolt-ons we have are the glowing eyes, the Zeus fins. They're things that are like lore driven. So many of these things were like got. I like the flags. I don't think we needed 3 for every mech, or 3 for every faction, every mech.
Basically,
just one in the middle of the back.
And
I'm honestly,
I have to say, you got to put a Canopus flag in there, please. A Canopus flag would be the best thing you could ever do. It'll make the game soar to new heights.
I think that I think the bolt-ons are going to get looked at this year.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do, if I'm going to like refund money or if I'm just going to take a shit ton of them off the market. Because I think that when you go into the bolt-ons section for your mech, it should just be like 10 really cool things for you to choose from. It shouldn't be 15 boar tusks and 30 flags and that kind of thing. The intention there was there to make cool shit, but we made a bunch of less cool stuff because we wanted to have volume. And I think that was a mistake. I think you should go less quantity, higher quality.
Yes.
And that's the target now. And when you look at the bolt-ons that they're concepted for both the striker, the Thunderbolt and the Dragon, we're going, what is the theme of this mech? This mech is a dragon, right? And it's samurai armor. So it looks like reactive armor, but it's samurai. It's modeled after the idea of the samurai.
Samurai shoulder plate thing.
Samurai shoulder plate.
Yeah.
And then as well, like it's got that samurai hat, dealy bobber, and then kind of these 2 dragon fins out the back that Alex Iglesias concepted. And I mean, he's
extra claws.
he's a fucking man when it comes to concepting. He's like way up there with the best of the best mech artists in the world, right? And he knows the lore. He loves this product. He's been doing this. He would be doing this if he wasn't working on MWO. Like, he would be working for somebody else doing this exact same job. And there's Mark Nicholson, who just, like, he came to work at Piranha Games because he wanted to work on MechWarrior Online. Like, that is why he came here. He was modeling, he modeled the concept of the flea, or he modeled the flea based on the concept before he even got hired. So he had to remodel it when it actually came out in the game. But this is the guy who's like, knows all the mechs, knows all the chassis. Like David Bradley, he's a huge BattleTech fan, and like, he's a walking Sarna. I'm like, I need variants, and then they're like, he can look at a variant and go like, this is how I would think we would set it up. This is where it's got a hard point there, and we don't have that on any other variant, or that mech doesn't come out until this year. It's part of this. Like I love MechWarrior, don't get me wrong, but I'm not a lore head at all. Like, for me, it's about giant mechs shooting the shit out of each other. That is purely what MechWarrior is about for me. I know for some people, it's a whole universe filled with drama and intrigue and all those things. And that's really, where we have to go to these guys. And we go to Alex Iglesias, and we go to Nico, and we go to those guys and be like, yeah, bolt-ons. And we all agree, bolt-ons that we put out there aren't what we would want. So what do we want to do for these mechs? Make those bolt-ons really cool that will drive people to go, I want to buy that pack because it comes with these really cool bolt-ons. They're not dumb, they're cool, and I want to have that extra geo on my mech just as a symbol of pride that I was like around at that time to buy that pack.
Yeah.
The Phoenix pack going away, the extra geo on the Phoenix pack, like, a lot of people just wanted the extra geo. It's crazy.
Really?
In a sane way, but crazy.
Just to give my quick take on the bolt-ons, I think it's much better to make quantity over quality. The tricky thing is, though, bolt-ons and both
Quality
my
over
head, quality over quantity, and for me, they sort of sit in a similar place as decals. Both are a great idea, but the interface, at least from a user perspective, is kind of clunky to actually find items that you'd be interested in, or even just making use of all the items you have available.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. I can't disagree with you on that one. There's a lot of things about the UI that could be better. It's a huge flipping game, and like, it's
that space was fine when you had like that space is fine when you have like a color palette when you're buying colors, because it's easy just to show a large number of colors. But when you're listing cockpit items, decals, and bolt-ons and stuff, that huge long scrolly list becomes a nightmare to navigate.
Yeah, you should see some of the stuff I have to deal with on the back end.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Huge scrolly list to the like, every item in the game. I want to find it and inject it into someone's account, like Daeron used to have to do when we did these kill the dev events. He would go and just scroll through. I mean, over time you get muscle memory, and it's a lot easier. But yeah, there's some UI improvements that could happen to the game. So we'll see what over the course of this year how it goes.
Well, yeah. Basically, one of the things I talked to Daeron about is like, dude, I can't find my cockpit items. I don't know where in the hell they are in 300 to 400 mechs. I'm not going to sit there, basically need some type of UI thing, trying to, strip all or something like that. And then I could just pick and choose which ones I want and what mech, because it is a pain.
We've joked about this. Yeah. We joked about making a where is my question box on the website to see if we could find some sort of interface that would allow you to find, where's my Hula Girl cockpit item?
Yeah.
And then it would go like, your Hula Girl cockpit item is, no, it wouldn't have a computer voice, but it could potentially tell you what mech it's in, right?
Yeah.
That may be something we do. I don't know. Like, it is.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it would be awesome. I know engines are expensive too, right? And people are like, I know I have a 360 somewhere. Where did I put it? What mech did I leave that thing in? Right?
True. Yeah.
Before we move on, Matt, do you have another like 25, 30 minutes?
Oh yeah. I'm good.
Okay. Just making
Fine.
sure.
That's
It's
very
new
cool.
here.
In that case, one final question for events. Let's go a bit back to the more creative side. How do you come up with the event theme and especially the pictures? Because that is something we always
Yeah.
compliment you for.
We always love that. It's so good.
Tell
One
us
of my
how you
favorite
come
things
up
in my
with them.
job. So what would you guys say have been your favorite themes? I know what mine are, but
I'm more into lore themes, like if you have like certain battles or something like that. Like
Aftermath. Do you remember Aftermath?
I believe so. You have to refresh my memory like on that one.
I'm a
It was
huge fan
a
of
faction play
everything
event.
that's memey and puns.
Yeah,
That's
all right.
Those are
something
good.
like
You are my
the
target.
good old dad jokes. Gonna
Yeah.
prepare myself for my future in 30, 40 years when I'm old and only can make dad jokes.
Well, I do like that with the names or the individual challenges. So, if I'm
those are
playing
good.
through the thing, I can just sort of say, randomly after a match, fear does not exist. Pain does not exist. Defeat does not exist. All the most recent events.
Yeah. Fear does not exist in this dojo. It's that's all taken from my wife and I. We binge watched Karate Kid or the Cobra Kai.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of it's pop culture stuff that I just am exposed to from being a nerd, and just one of my favorites has been MechWarrior things, and I ripped the font from Stranger Things, and so I tried to come up with the weirdest shit you can do in MWO and still make it fun for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the latest one was completely ripped off of binge watching Cobra Kai, and my wife watched Karate Kid with the kids, and I'd seen it recently, so she rewatched it with the kids, and then we were like, okay, let's start watching Cobra Kai. And thankfully, we didn't watch Cobra Kai with the kids because they're still a bit young. It's a bit more mature for them, but it's a hilarious show. Anyone that's watched Karate Kid when you're my age, when you're a teenager, to jump in, or if you've seen it, more recently, just watching the classic '80s thing. Johnny is so flippin' funny. Like, I just love that character, and it's cheesy, it's funny, and it's like a great thing to sit down and watch with your significant other.
To answer your previous question though about the most favorite one, at least the one I remember the most, just trying to dial back, is was it the Corgie event?
Oh yeah.
The BGI Corgi thing. It's like we're releasing the new mech, and of course the same event page itself has all of it's just a lot of poking fun at yourselves, and there's even just one of the challenges has like was it find one of the bird people, whatever they're called, and kill all the bird people, and people are like, what the hell is this? We don't even know. It's a mystery.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, there's so much fun. Like, I think that's definitely a lore thing. So that would be in Bob's wheelhouse. What's the name of that bird? The bird creatures?
Tetia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. And so that was like taken from the cover of a BattleTech novel.
And which one was that
Deckle.
one? That was
Farland.
Farlands?
Yeah, Farland.
With a Clan Shade Falcon in it?
No, with the Kuita Dest. The
right.
Destin that mist
the
jumps and then lands
yeah,
in a
that's right.
different galaxy and finds bird people, and it's totally BattleTech canon, and everyone who refuses this is dumb.
Yeah. There's no intelligent life out there.
Stuff, right?
Bob, that's where the Wolverines are. The Wolverines are fighting the Tete to prevent their invasion of the inner
Don't
sphere.
Don't you say that, man. No. They're coming back, buddy. They're coming back.
Yeah, I think that the Corgie Mech was also a play on this. There's like some unit called the Spaniels or something like that. Or
Well, that's where they came from?
Well, I mean, it came actually from a joke. When I worked with Tina, she thought corgis were really cute. And so being the event guy and sales guy, one day she was like, maybe we can make our own mech. And I'm like, haha, yeah, like a Corgie Mech, but it wouldn't have jump jets, because I used to tease her that corgis are a useless dog because they can't jump over anything. And their legs are so stumpy, like, you see, like, they're cute as heck, right? But they can't get over a piece of wood. They fall over.
And that's why the corgis are that shape. I thought it was really weird.
Yeah. And so the joke was that I doodled the Corgie Mech and gave the picture to Tina. I'm like, this is literally how dumb a Corgie Mech would look like, because it's this little stumpy arms and little stumpy legs, and it would like waddle around the battlefield or something. And so it started from a sketch, and then it became an April Fool's thing, because we try and come up with fun, inventive stuff. As much as I wish I was a lore head, whenever I want to do something lore based, I always have to ask someone else, because I'm not about to read the breadth and of information out there for BattleTech stuff, because you almost have to have lived it in order for it to be as meaningful as it is.
Yeah, as someone who wasn't born for most of the BattleTech history, it's really hard to get into some of the stuff.
Yeah,
but completely off topic, apparently the Adventures of Clan Spaniel is the most popular entertainment show among preteens of the clan's merchant caste.
Right.
So there's
that is fun tidbit.
Yeah,
Clan Spaniel.
There's all kinds of weird shit, right?
Exactly.
I posted in Discord, Bob. You should totally put this in the description. This is awesome.
I'll go put the link down below. Actually, when I go put it up. Clan Spaniel. Holy cow. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, actually, like your events are fun.
The closer you look, the weirder it gets, right? So there's lots of material for me to draw on, both in pop culture and in BattleTech. And I know that when we draw stuff from BattleTech, like, we get a huge amount of response to it. But I also think that pop culture is something that I'm able to just like, it's easy for me. So when it came to doing the event, like I said, I just finished binge watching Cobra Kai, so that stuff is rattling around my head. So when I need to name an event, I just let myself go to those stupid places. Like I'm really good with dad jokes and stupid puns. It's been passed down to me by my father, and I'm passing it down to my sons. And so it's just my brain likes to make up stuff like that. And so I'm glad that there are people that appreciate it.
Yeah, we really do enjoy them. They're fun. They're actually a lot of fun, man. And your pictures are amazing. Oh my god.
Thanks.
They're just
I put a lot of effort into the pictures.
Yeah, how do you do your pictures? Do you just jump in and use the camera, like with the free roam camera?
So I do get to cheat a little bit. So on live environment, you can use the free cam. But in the stable or stage, one of the environments where it still has a console enabled, I can make further adjustments, which means I can affect the FOV of the camera. So I can change it so it goes from whatever the lowest FOV setting is on the game, which I think is like 50.
I'm not sure.
One of them. I can adjust it to 40. So that's the lowest I can get. So when I get a 40 millimeter FOV, you can take a different shot and get a different feel. So if you do a close up on the mech, the arm isn't like it isn't, they don't like do this weird thing where they're pointing out in opposite directions. So it seems like a much more like a view you'd see through a traditional camera, which is 35 millimeter lens, or from something you would look at with your eyes, or the way the world gets flattened. When you're in 3D and in a mech and playing it on a single screen, you want the wider FOV so you can have situational awareness. But when you're creating marketing materials, the wider FOV can distort mechs to looking kind of goofy. And there is some instances of seeing that in games. And it's just a common practice in marketing to kind of like try and make the mech look as good as how you would imagine it looking.
Yeah.
The other hack I do is I can slow down time. So when I'm alpha striking, and a lot of my screenshots are like,
yes,
alpha strike, screenshot, while all the weapons go like fire in slow motion. So the missiles are flying out, and this is happening, and the PPC blast is coming out. And so I basically alpha strike and then press screenshot as fast as I can. And then I'll end up with like at the end of it, and I'll move the camera around with different angles and different perspectives and that kind of thing. And so when I do the screenshots for an event, I will literally take like 100 screenshots, but I'm so quick at it. It's like I go, this mech, this paint job, this level, jump in, go console, change the FOV, change this, change that, have a controller plugged in, and I'll sit down there and I'll take as many screenshots as quickly as I can, and I'll alt tab out, look through the screenshots. Do I have the shot that I want? Yes, no. And then sometimes beyond that, I'll go in and add extra little bits. like the thought balloon I did on the latest sale or the previous ones, or sometimes I'll Photoshop something in there. I've combined different pictures together as well. So
Yeah, I was wondering about that. If we could have that, because I know that I would love to change the time of day, jump in and change the time of day, and even what you said, like stop time, be perfect, because then I could
Yeah.
actually start like working on different shots like that. That'd be great to see the missiles come out of the tube, but I have to sit there and run my video, and or actually just like you said, like screenshot. Hopefully, I'll get that missile coming out of the tube, stuff like
yeah,
that.
when it's going at full speed, the missiles come out really, really fast.
Yeah,
and the ballistic comes out really fast, and there's all kinds of weird issues with particle effects and timing.
Yeah.
So getting the right shot takes a lot of effort. So
yeah, true. It'd be nice.
But yeah, I mean, if that's something you guys want, I mean, something I can look at. How do we get that into the build? Because it can't enable console in a release build. That's just not an option.
No.
The more variables, like I've seen the list of variables that you guys can access through config files. Not all of them work. By that I mean, like if someone wants to tune their performance in the game, they can go in and set CryEngine variables for particle effects, quality, and those kind of things.
Yeah.
So people will make these big config files, throw it in their folder, and be like, "Oh, I get better performance for this." But like half them work, half them don't work. They don't know which ones work, which ones don't work. I was actually the person to audit all the config variables early on to figure out which ones we would actually want to keep and which ones we would want server-side authoritative. Because when you're doing the code to make things server-side authoritative, it's not good to have you guys be able to change your time of day on your client when everyone else is playing at night, and then you can change the lighting or time of day.
No, basically, I bet just like in testing grounds. That's all. Like just
in
testing grounds where I get one of
that, like for sure.
Yeah.
I totally understand that, and that is something we'd have to expose through a user interface, rather than a console drop down.
Okay.
Yeah. It's still sort of early days for the year of the revival, but we've seen working with the Twitch community. It'll be great for at least the YouTube creators, having more tools to spice up their videos and stuff. Those will always be quite appreciated for them.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. We're thinking probably we only want to go for about 2 hours or so. So let's get cracking on with the next big sort of topic, is just sales.
Just so you guys know, the players are going to want you to publish everything, or what is it when they want the subtitles or not timestamps?
Yeah,
and
I know. I got to go through that. That's be crazy.
But it'll be easy to be like, Matt rambles about this for a half hour. Matt rambles about this for a half hour.
Right. So for sales, how do you sort of plan out the sales? Like, do you keep track of, it's been so long since I've done an engine sale and I should do one now, or is it all sort of spare at the moment?
So I have some traditions, some traditional sales. Some of the traditions have gotten thrown out the window. It's interesting now. I feel like I can't put a sale on for mechs, heroes, or champions without it being 50% off, because the race to the bottom has already happened, and 50% off is the maximum I can reduce anything in the game. So like if I put out a hero mech sale for 35% off, I think that I would get jeered on the forums, like it's 35% off, So I've already hit kind of like that 50% off mark, and it took a while to get there. I used to do 30 and 35% off, and then 40% off. Then it's like, it's 50% off a hero mech, and it's like,
I would just save until it's 50% off, so I would just ignore the other percentages.
Yeah, exactly. So, with that being said, like I just put all the heavies on for 50% off, so that includes the heroes and champions, clan, inner sphere. I generally do like, I'll go on the forums and people will be like this or this. Sometimes I try and do sales that are, I used to do them based around what mechs are released. So like if a particular mech came out available for MC or C bills 1 month, I'd do it, the following month or something like that, put it on sale. I don't really like, all of my patterns have gone out the window this year. Like, last year became Bob's getting a call.
Bob is
Uh-oh.
muted. Keep talking.
Okay, it's fine.
Oh, really? Okay, I heard it. So yeah, I mean,
things are changing this year. So
things are changing this year. I try and listen to players' requests. I've gone on the forum several times and be like, hey, what do you guys think? I do have yearly themes. I think that I used to do a lot of like buy MC and get this or that.
Yeah.
It's become really difficult to do something new. So what did we? I have ideas. I don't know if they're good ideas. I don't know. Sometimes I want to get rid of every mech pack.
Yeah, there's only so many things to reduce the price on and to galvanize people's interest. I was wondering, for a follow-up though, is what kind of metrics do you have? Since obviously the point of sales is to try and garner more player interest to make people want to grind more C-bills to buy mechs. So what sales are more successful and all that kind of stuff?
So metrics wise, I do generally get them after the fact. And again, it's a lot of guesswork as to like why a particular thing did particularly well. You look at a lot of different things because what mech it used to be, what pre-order went up, what mech was released for MC, what mech was released for C-bills, what event was running, what sale was running. So you could take all those 5 things and look at your player count and your revenue and try and guess what is driving certain things. Like, okay, so when the mech came available for MC, this many people bought it. When this mech came available for C-bills, this many people bought it. When the pre-order went up, this many people bought it initially, and sales numbers were either good out of the gate or bad out of the gate, and a mech pack would do well or a mech pack would do shitty. Like, but I mean, we have all that information, but a lot of the times with analytics, you're asking questions, but you're not always getting like really definitive answers out of them. So when you look at the sales, you're kind of going, all right, well, that's the sales number for when I did this sale or this pack. We did this much revenue that month, and MC accounted for this much of it, and I ran the sweet deals with MC in April or whatever, or it was Valentine's Day, and I ran sweet deals with MC, and I gave away these mechs with these packages, and we sold X amount of them. So people like that mech, or maybe that mech had just come out for MC, and now they decide to get it and get MC. And so I've done so many different things that sometimes you're kind of left going, I guess I did something good, or I guess I missed the mark on that. You can't it's hard to get inside the mind of the consumer when it's a broad audience. And why did this mech not sell for C-bills? Is it because a balance change went in? Is it because population went down? It's tough. Like it's honestly, the more data you have, the more confusing it can get sometimes, and you're just in there kind of guessing things. And so I find one of the best metrics is player count, overall player count, and the forums and engagement, because everything else sorts itself out. With the more players you have and the more fun they're having, everything else takes care of itself. So that's my focus is to do the things that we're doing this year, is really just to make you guys have as much fun as humanly possible.
Yeah, I think it's a very good metric to have. Though, to apply some more pressure on you, at least if we look at this heavy mechs and big guns sale, it's a huge wall of text scrolling up and down to tell us, just basically, X, Y, Z, and mechs are all 50% off in-game store. Like, at least on the website, it's not. It's it's a kind of overwhelming whenever you're reading the sales.
Yep, that's fair. That's probably a symptom of me not having the time to format it before I was going to go make dinner. I was having nachos that day. I wanted to make nachos. What's like? Yes. I'm a human being.
I mean, ultimately, you're always buying these things from in-game. So my thought process is that in game, the best way to tell sales is somewhat just because you click the store button, then it just has a huge page
Oh
that you
God.
can cycle
Yeah.
through of all the things on it. And the website just should sort of tell you what is available in store mostly.
Yeah, so you know what to look for in the huge list of shit.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think that the both the website and in-game sales indications could be better. There's cases where I put something on sale and it doesn't have the little sale dealer bobber on the side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's some items like those are missing content from the game. Those are missing. And when I first started with the game, putting a mech on sale was a big deal. And as the game has gotten older and like it's more content, there's just more shit for me to try and weed through to try and figure out to make a good sale, right? If I make a sale with all the heavies, as I've done, the expectation now falls on me of like, well, when's the assault sale? When's the medium sale? And when's the light sale?
Yep.
Does that make sense, right?
Yeah.
So I can see myself doing those sales over the next 4 months, like one per month. Assault sale, light sale, medium sale. And the guy who's waiting for the light sale, maybe it's cursing me.
Yeah.
It's difficult, right? Like, and I've done request threads before where it's like, hey, tell me what mechs you want on sale and I'll do it. And so I'll jump in there and people will give me a big list and then I'll put the sale up and then I'll get like 20 more requests. And like, so I'll add 5 more. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'll save that to the next one. And people are like, this mech hasn't been on sale in forever. And it's really, really difficult to keep track of the 100 some odd variants that we have. And using the tools that I have on the back end, which are like no better than what you guys see in the front end. In some cases, they're worse because they're programmer tools and they're, lots of text input windows and things like that. That they're just done good enough so that we can move on and make the next feature, And I have to work within the bounds of what I have for tools. And so I'm not complaining because I've got some really cool tools. But trying to find all the variants sometimes can become difficult because we put some in at this time, we put some in at that time. These ones got named slightly differently than these ones are named, so they get missed when I'm added into the thing. So it's an error-prone process, and I just do my best to be responsive as possible to the errors that I make because of that situation. And I do agree the wall of text is overkill, but sometimes I've also heard the opposite of that, which is like, can you tell us what the prices of those mechs are? Can we find out that information in the post?
Okay.
Sure, that is useful without having to jump in game to figure out those things.
Yeah, so and like one of the other things that I've tried to add to the game, like if you go into your profile, you can see literally what mechs you own now.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to, and that was a feature that came super late in terms of development. Like being able to actually filter by weight class, faction, see what mechs you own, see how many skill points are assigned to those mechs. Yeah, it's like a lot of.
Just to quickly wrap up, at least my thoughts are sort of what I've talked about with regards to like events and sales. I feel like, when we look at the Striker pack, it's a really, good production values and such. It helps, sell the pack to you. And in a ways, I would love to see, the events and sales having that level of production, just so, because they're trying to engage people in the audience as well. And even simpler changes like in-game, there's a huge, when you go to the store, there's a huge wall of mechs that are on sale or whatnot. But on the left side, you still you don't know which. You have to actually open up those little bars, those little columns, to find out, oh, is this one actually on sale? You have to actually find it. If there's a little icon or something that just shows it's on sale, that would help, particularly newer players or something, actually just find, all right, click light category, and I can see which light mechs are on sale right now, and that would be brilliant.
Yeah, like I totally agree with you. There's so many different areas. Like it's almost crazy after 9 years of development, how many different areas we could still take the game in to improve it. I think that, again, I'm going to kind of circle back to what our goals are for this year is to increase the population engagement, take the existing content, improve it, take the mechs, quirks, weapons, change them, change scale, change maps, move spawn points, add different time of day settings, as much as we can humanly possible do with the existing content to improve it and give new life to the game and have players come back and have new players get engaged, and then localize it to new regions, and then look at in the second half of the year what new features can we add to the game and what improvements can we give to the game based on the fact that we've now got a larger audience and people are realizing that we're not going to let this thing die, that we are developing it, that there is a new direction, that there is a reason to come back and play and stay engaged in MWO, and start developing those features and adding that new content and adding improvements to the game, like the stuff that you're talking about. That all being said, when it comes to things like this, I have to prioritize them within those goals. So can I prioritize putting what light mechs are on sale in the store above localization? Probably not. Is that the same engineer? Yes, it is. So you end up with a huge list of things you could do to the game, and your best attempt to prioritize those are things like the roadmap and understanding the resources available to you and how long you think it would take. How much do you invest in a given feature in order to decide to do it? Like, what's the work involved in it? What's the work involved to assess the work involved? Like, there's so many layers, right? And it's not always like, to the person who wants that feature, it's like, you guys are idiots, just make the feature, right?
It's a lot more
I see that sentiment all the time. Like, why would you not just do this thing? It's a no-brainer. It's like, yeah, but I have to balance that against all the other no-brainers. I have to balance that against the critical features. I have to balance that against bugs that are online. I have to balance this against so many other things. So you have limited resources and you have to spend them in the best possible way to achieve the goals, which are bring the people back and engage the players of the game. So it's not easy. I mean, we're gonna make mistakes, but I think that the way we're working is that we're gonna talk about our mistakes and we're gonna talk about the steps we're gonna make in order to fix those mistakes, right? Mm-hmm. Or try to avoid those mistakes in the future, or whatever it may be. You guys have seen the roadmap. I'm sure you guys did an episode on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was there anything in the roadmap where you guys are like, why are they doing that in Q4 instead of Q1? That is stupid, right? I'm sure you guys thought that about something, or not stupid, but like not to that degree, but I'm sure you were like, does this make sense over here? Like, how do they even come up with the way that they're sorting it? And that's usually what it is us talking with programmers and trying to figure out when can it be done? How are we going to do it? How can we achieve that thing?
I mean, like, anything you guys do is actually going to be good for the community and the game itself. Basically, if something changes and everything, marketing wise, like, anytime something changes, it brightens up the eyes of people going, ooh, what's happening over here, type thing. Yeah. And that's basically what you want to have. And with the roadmap that you actually did produce, I mean, it's fine. Basically, like, I think we had a couple comments, but I forgot what they were. So, but
yeah,
still, any changes is good.
Phil's, I watched TTB's review of the roadmap. I definitely went through the entire forum threads, and there is, I'm not saying you guys, but there is sentiment out there that just people just can't see the logic and reason, and so many of those things are just behind the scene things of us saying.
Yeah, it took us a while to figure things out, because of course, like, Daeron turns up and he's sort of like, hey guys, we're going to revitalize MWO, it's going to be a great time, everyone tell me your thoughts and feelings about the game, everyone send me your stuff. And talking that way implies, oh, send him stuff now, it's going to happen like in a month's time, things are going to be getting done. Just that enthusiasm equals almost things will happen soon. But in the end, we figured out, okay, actually, Daeron's just been hired. He's also working on MechWarrior 5 at the same time. We don't actually have people allocated yet and stuff. And it's like, it slowly sank in. It's like, okay, this is, we pieced together the pieces eventually on this show.
You can see a bump in the population when Daeron got hired. So,
yeah.
And you see a bump in December when we changed the queue, and you saw a bump in actually in January as we released the roadmap. And so it is having an effect. It is having the effect we want. I think that both Daeron and I wanted things to happen faster too.
Yeah.
I had a different patch planned for December than what got released. And part of that was being very much so that MW5 did not ship when it was supposed to ship. We had been operating under the assumption all of that entire year of 2020 that MW5 was going out on these SKUs on this day. So a lot of the lack of attention for MWO from me, as much as I could give it, like sales and events, was due to me working on things like the Steam page, working on things like pricing and SKUs and DLC and marketing for that. Like, so we are a small-ish company. Like, we're growing, but we have always operated as a smallish company. And so we wear multiple hats. Like, everybody at the studio wears multiple hats. It's not like, there's AAA games that have audio engineering teams the size of our entire engineering department, right? So we are we're making decisions around the product based on the resources that we have available. And when Daeron was hired on, we had no inkling that MW5 wasn't going to ship in December 10th. In fact, we operated under that presumption right up until we found out that we were getting purchased by EG7. And then even for weeks afterwards, we operated under that assumption until we found out that MW5 was going to be going to console. And the whole team found out at the same time. And the reason you find out that way, the reason those things happen is because, one, Russ can't leak insider information about publicly traded companies purchasing different companies. Like, he just can't. And two, you don't announce to your team that you're going to ship on console before you even know if that's even a possibility, right?
Yeah.
So I think that I understand that where people are coming from when they say, like, yeah, let's start things happening. Like, we had a patch planned for December, which is probably the size of the February patch. Not the exact same content, but a lot of like your player requests. But we just couldn't pull it off due to, and we knew it was a bit of a long shot, so we weren't saying anything about it. But we had a 5 or 6 item patch that we wanted to release in December to let people know we're working on MWO again. And it became one thing, setting the tier of players to tier 5. And we had to fight to get that out. And I say fight, but it's not a fight so much as we had to push. We had to, like, can we get this person to do that? Can we get this person to do that? And then just push it, keep pushing it along every step of the way until that patch gets released. And then come back from like the holiday in December, and we're in January, and we're like, okay, well, this is it. We're starting. This is the year. What resources do we have? And it's like, well, everybody's trying to make this fit in memory on MW5, fit in memory on the Xbox One, and we're trying to do this and this to the product to make sure it works great with consoles, which is like the controller scheme.
Yeah.
And so there's challenges that come with shipping a product on a console that's not on PC at all. Like, PC doesn't have the same requirements for shipping that consoles have. And then so it's those resources that you thought you were going to be getting all of a sudden are very, very busy. So, I mean, we've said this in things before, but it's happening. Like, it is. I'm now getting those resources. It's February, and March is going to have a patch, and April is going to have a patch, and we're going to keep on patching the rest of the year, and the patches are just going to get bigger and better.
Yeah, great actually so far. Like, I was just checking out the roadmap just now, and everything you have in there is pretty cool. Yeah, I like it. That's nice. I had to look through my old episode.
It's the right ideas on the roadmap. It's just, of course, things like weapon balance and stuff. It's a line. It really depends, of course, what values are changed, what's the design philosophy behind it, etc., etc. And we'll only, we still don't know the details behind what will actually, where PGI is heading in that direction yet.
Well,
so it's like, it's an interesting idea.
Internally, well, the way we're talking about it is that we're going to take bolder moves. We're taking player feedback. We're taking bolder moves, but we're not just like we are thinking about what we're doing. I'll give you one example, one teaser for the patch. Yesterday, yeah, the exclusive. We got the exclusive. Yesterday, I was in an XML file and I was changing the speed of autocannon ballistics, so the velocity at which they travel in a match, and I was adjusting them based off of player feedback. So that is a tease. Autocannons are going to be going. Specific autocannons will be going faster, so they will travel across the map at a higher rate.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a lot of sense. AC20 no longer feels like a long tom.
I don't know if I adjusted the 20. I think I did the 5, the 10. I don't know. It was yesterday, and I was also making a sale. But there's a few other weapon systems that we're touching, and I think we're experimenting with mask too. So, internally we're saying let's pick a group of weapons. Let's look at the feedback. Let's see what we can do to shake things up, put them out there, and see what people say. And if we go too far, we may have to go back, and we may put in like checks and balances against those things that you may not like either. And because we're not looking to totally disrupt everything, but we are looking to change things that may give you a fresh reason to look at those weapon systems. What role do they play on the battlefield?
Yeah. Purely from a communication standpoint, what we really liked was the group merge, the way you did this. Like, we're gonna do it, but we're gonna set ourselves a time limit, and after that time limit, we're gonna dial it back unless we get positive feedback. I really like the approach of communicating changes like this, and not being like, we're gonna do this unless you give us really negative feedback, but whether we're gonna do it and dial it back unless you tell us to keep it.
Yeah. So
that's kind of
definitely I want to investigate what it would take to get group queue 8v8 first. Like, so if population goes up and to the point where we feel like we can have solo queue and group queue active again. I know we did an experiment with 8v8, so maybe when we bring group queue back, it's just 8v8. I mean, comp queue is 8v8, so why couldn't group queue be 8v8, right? So we'll see.
Yeah. The game plays differently according to the number of mechs. So before you fiddle with the weapon values, obviously it makes sense to figure out if you want 8v8 or 12v12. At least that would be my thought process.
Yeah, I mean, we did an 8v8 test.
Yeah, you did.
At one point. Yeah. People liked it. Or I heard positive things from Nutty Rat. When I say people liked it. Right? There's always the issue of like being biased towards different people's feedback. And we have to be cognizant of that. So you can't just listen to the loudest voices, but you have to make decisions that try and reflect the greater good of the product and the community that is playing it. So we do our best to try and balance that, but we're not always right. We don't always please everybody.
One thing, I remember when we mentioned weapon balance, I had mentioned this, discussed it a little with Daeron last time he was on, but I said, if you're going to ask about weapon balance, it would be really interesting to know some statistics behind the weapons, what weapons are most commonly used, etc., etc. Daeron said, oh, yeah, we do have those kind of statistics, and we think the weapons are very balanced. And I said, yeah, that's great. It would be really good if we're talking about weapon balance and all that, it would be great to give the community some information on that so that they can then inform their feedback based on those kind of or more than just their own personal speculation in their own tiers and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. I think that some of that data isn't great to put in front of people because you're also expecting them to interpret it correctly. Yeah, I mean, I understand. Like, I want to be more open with development and talking about these things and what our approach is to that stuff. Getting everybody all the data we have is not something that I think is an optimal situation, but I definitely understand your desire for it. I don't think there's any game out there that shows you this exact statistics of weapon usage and
there's not many. I've never seen a game that actually does that except for you guys. Basically, maybe World of Tanks I think has something, but that's probably just on a side thing based with like what they do. But I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, because, I personally, of course, I posted in the forums, I put my own 10-page document up, and in that I wanted to try and address just the underperforming weapons rather than fiddling too much with the highest performers. And I make an educated guess about which weapons I think are the less effective ones in the game. But
Mhm.
it's just so much more useful for me if I have some statistics, so I'm not just throwing my guesses out into the wind.
Again, this is another issue with like telemetry data and not always reflecting things, because we all have our own views on things. Like, what tier are you?
I'm top of tier 1, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that your gaming experience is very different from someone in tier 5, which is where I am. So
Exactly.
the best and worst weapons in tier 1 versus tier 5, there's skill factored into that. There's, when you play in terms of time of day can factor into that. The number of people the matchmaker pool is matchmaking from.
Mm-hmm.
It's like none of these things are simple. Like it boggles my mind. Like when I try and figure shit out, I'm like, how many different ways can you balance a mech? It's like scale, speed, quirks, hard point locations, hitboxes. Like it just, and when you change something over here, it affects cascades throughout the entire game. So, I mean, all I can say is that we're looking at everything, and we're going to do our best to like change everything so that, that we're moving the game in a direction that is as fun as possible.
And plus, oh, sorry, go on.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say as fun as possible.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, at least in my design document, I just said, at least, the idea is if there's a lot of weapons that just aren't being picked, they should become more viable. That way you have more tools in the toolbox, and therefore there's more variety in the game, and therefore it's more fun.
I think also the event queue beat
yes.
that. I think the event queue could be a great solution for that as well, because there's a lot of mechs and weapon systems in the game that could be highlighted and made fun or made relevant for an event. Just like event queue, like just for example, like me, I like medium mechs. I don't like heavy mechs. I don't like assault mechs. I like to go fast, but I don't like to be squishy. I don't want to be a light mech that has to lives on high anxiety caffeine pills 24/7 and scooting around like a madman. I want to, maneuver, but I want to bring some firepower to the table. I want to be sneaky. I want to like come up behind the heavy mech that's engaging a guy and then assist him and then pop back. And so that's the way I like to play. That's the way I've always liked to play. Some of my favorite mechs are ballistic based mechs like the Blackjack or Stormcrow. They both have good energy builds as well. So that's what I like. Like that's the fun I get out of the game is from playing those weight classes with those weapon systems. So I'm excited about the fact that ballistics are going to go faster in the next patch. But I mean, not everybody will. Like some people are like PPC energy people or whatever, like or jump sniping assaults. I don't know. Like it's play style. It's all these different things. So I think an event queue would be a great way to highlight different play styles, different preferences, and really mix it up. Like if I say for the first week of February, it was like medium mechs only. Like even if I did this in regular queue or group queue or something like, so let's say I had a way to set that up. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you that people would come back to the game just to say, what is that like? What's it like to play all mediums, 12v12 on River City? Like that's got to be a little bit nuts, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it'd be fun. So that's what I hope to do with the event queue later on in the year. Be able to set up events like that.
On that note, or at least with event queue, I think we have run quite long, and so we're thinking perhaps Matt, is there any last things you want to say about MW?
I have one quick fire question. I cut most of our quick fire questions, Matt. If you ever want to come back on the podcast, we can talk more.
I'd be happy to come back.
Please.
Potentially about more Battletech lore-based stuff, if you're interested. But real quick, MechCon, is it going to happen post-COVID again? Yes or no?
I would love for it to happen again.
Yeah.
I would love for it to happen again. If someone said, let's do another MechCon, I would be all over planning that.
All right.
I think
And
I think this year I'd like to do a virtual MechCon. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I think I'd like to do something virtual with streamers and with comp. And I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm just saying I want to make it happen.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah. And then final one, Catalyst Games has been partnering with Paradox Interactive from Sweden to do some EU-based events. Do you have any potential ideas for the future to do something similar?
Yeah, I think that the potential as we localize to regions where we know we have a community, such as Germany, such as Russia, I would love to throw some weight behind doing some gatherings of some sort when it's safe for people to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, very cool. In that case, let's do finally wrap up. Matt, this is going to be your opportunity. Is there anything else you want to add onto what you've said so far, and any message you want to give to the people listening to this podcast?
Yeah, I guess just as you can tell, both Daeron and I are super, super excited. Like we're having a blast. We love getting to do what we do every day. I love the product. And we have a lot of ideas, but we're gonna make mistakes. So my biggest message would be like, just be patient with us and just communicate kindly but clearly as to what we do wrong, so that we can look at it and have an honest chance to acknowledge that feedback and fix the issues. Prime example being the bolt-ons, right?
Yeah.
And I think the best possible outcome for that is the one we proposed, where you can just become a player option, because player options are ultimately the best thing. So, that's the kind of stuff that we're going to do this year, and just stick with us. I think it's going to be fun. And I think that, the more people you can bring back, the more stuff we can do. And so I do ask that you help spread the word. You guys are doing that, obviously. But it's like, for the people out there that are listening to this vlog, if they've made it through to this long without falling asleep, yeah, get your friends there. We're going to look at doing some new player stuff. We're going to look at doing free mechs every month, obviously, is a thing. I think that's going to bring people back. So yeah, spread the word.
Definitely.
I'm going to do my best to do that as well on the marketing side of things. We've got some really cool promotions lined up that are outside of our normal range of things that we do, and some cool partners, and cool marketing plan for MechWarrior 5, because it's got to be a successful launch when it launches. And we're working with some very, very talented marketing people who are part of the EG7 group, and it's just a thrill for me, because it's like, wow, a night and day difference. And it's, I don't know, I keep on expecting this ride to stop at some point, but MechWarrior has been my life for the last 9 years.
Yeah.
And I honestly will be happy as a pig in shit, keep it for it to be my life for the next 9 years and beyond that, because I love working with this IP, and I love working with this community, and it's so much.
And I think that speaks for everybody, though, the base, as far as we don't want the ride to stop. Like, I know, like, I've been playing BattleTech and reading it since 1984, and I'm around your age, and it's still, I mean, I can still read those books, and I don't want it to end. I mean, it ended shortly with the age that shall not be named, but then it came back like afterwards and everything, and it's one of the things that we don't want to see end. And obviously we were very ecstatic when PGI had the extra 5 years. We're like, yes, the game's gonna keep on going. MechWarrior 5 is gonna do good on the console system, and it's gonna branch out and get more people like involved, because I know, like, we're old, we're gonna kick the bucket pretty soon, and we want to bring that enthusiasm and enjoyment we had, like, with the game itself, onto the new generation, to go ahead and have them enjoy the stuff that we did. So yeah, good. I'm very excited about this, actually, too. So cool. Okay, Ian.
Very cool. Okay. All right, Matt. Thank you very much for joining the First Circuit podcast and taking the time out of your weekend to talk to us and talk to the fans. We're very thankful for all the work you're doing. Please keep it up. And also, please take care of yourselves and your team. Make sure everyone is healthy and safe and all those good things. And
I should say that Piranha Games has been very, very good to us this year.
Good.
Everybody working from home, people getting all the support and things they need to accomplish the goals, and it's I can't say enough nice things about them. So I'm very, very happy to be where I am, doing what I'm doing for the company I work for.
Cool.
Okay, that's great to hear. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to the First Circuit podcast. This has been episode 139 with special guest Matt Newman. You can say bye-bye. You want to just hey. And your regular host, Bob.
Hey.
Bye there.
They're going to fix the time of day things on Caustic Valley. Et2, Matt. Et2.
No.
Don't listen to him. Don't worry about it.
And myself, Ian. Thanks again, and have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye,
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, guys.